India announced its first semiconductor fab and handed the contract to two companies that had never made a chip in their lives. One of them mined copper. The other one assembled iPhones. The government cheered. Less than 18 months later, the whole thing was dead. And the reason it failed reveals something uncomfortable about how governments, companies, and ambition collide when nobody is willing to say the hard truth first. Their names were Vedanta and Foxconn. Vedanta was an Indian conglomerate that mined copper, zinc, and aluminium for a living. Foxconn was the Taiwanese contract manufacturer behind every iPhone Apple had ever shipped. Neither had ever fabricated a chip. And yet here they were, standing on a stage in Gujarat alongside cabinet ministers, putting their names on India's first semiconductor fab. The agreement was signed in February 2022, and the Indian government was about to bet the country's tech independence on them. For India, this was supposed to be the moment a decades-long ambition finally became real. The country had watched chips get made in Taiwan, Korea, the United States, and Japan, while every smartphone, missile, and satellite that touched Indian soil ran on silicon stamped somewhere else. Policy papers, failed pilots, and quiet missed opportunities had all built up to this single announcement. Two corporate giants willing to plant a fab on Indian soil. The government wanted this badly, and to make sure it happened, it had already opened the checkbook. The Indian government had just launched a massive incentive scheme. 76,000 crore rupees, roughly $9.5 billion, was being offered to companies willing to manufacture chips domestically. The deal valued the joint venture at $19.5 billion. On paper, it looked perfect. Foxconn brought manufacturing expertise. Vedanta brought land, local connections, and government relationships. Together, they would operate a 28-nanometer chip fab, advanced enough to matter, but not so cutting-edge that it seemed impossible. The Indian government seemed optimistic. Here was a major global manufacturer partnering with a major Indian company to build something the country desperately wanted. But beneath the headline, something was already broken. Here's what most reporting on this deal glossed over. Neither Vedanta nor Foxconn actually knew how to manufacture semiconductors. Foxconn assembles phones. They are world-class at taking components and putting them together. But a chip fab is fundamentally different. You are not assembling anything. You are laying down transistors, one layer at a time, on silicon wafers using photolithography equipment that costs more than a hospital. You need process engineers who have spent decades mastering this craft. Counterpoint Research's Neil Shah was direct about this. Both companies lacked the core competency of manufacturing a chip. They were dependent on third-party technology and intellectual property. In other words, they needed someone else to teach them how. That someone was supposed to be STMicroelectronics, a European chip maker with decades of fab experience. The plan was simple. STMicro would license its technology to the joint venture. That would allow them to apply for the government's incentive scheme, and then, theoretically, they could build and operate a fab. But the talks with STMicro stalled, and they stalled hard. The Indian government wanted STMicro to have what it called more skin in the game. Specifically, the Europeans needed to take an equity stake in the venture. That meant real financial risk, not just licensing fees. STMicroelectronics declined. The company was not willing to take that risk, so the conversations went nowhere. Months passed. The joint venture remained stranded, unable to qualify for the incentive scheme without a technology partner, unable to build a fab without technology licensing. While the STMicro talks were collapsing, other problems were accumulating quietly. In April 2023, just 3 months before the deal fell apart, India's central government was privately raising concerns, not about the technology, not about the design, but about the applicants themselves. The government's own assessment: Vedanta and Foxconn lacked experience in chip production. This was the most basic screening criterion, and they were failing it. But here is the thing about government incentive schemes. Once they are announced, political pressure builds to deploy them. Ministers want to show they have attracted investment. Prime ministers want to cut ribbons. So the bar for approval often gets lower, not higher. Then, in late June 2023, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, known as SEBI, fined Vedanta 30 lakh rupees, about $36,400, for breaching disclosure rules. The fine was small, but the timing was not. This was days before Foxconn walked away. More significantly, Vedanta was carrying a net debt load of $7.7 billion. That is not a small problem. That is a company under serious financial stress. A semiconductor fab requires constant, reliable capital investment. If your partner is struggling to service debt, that partnership is fragile. Foxconn's executives understood this. They were watching a technology deal collapse. A partner carrying unsustainable debt was tightening the squeeze. And the Indian government's own internal flags about competency completed the picture. On July 10, 2023, Foxconn released a statement. It said, "There was recognition from both sides that the project was not moving fast enough. There were challenging gaps we were not able to smoothly overcome, as well as external issues unrelated to the project." That final phrase, external issues unrelated to the project, was never explained. Not publicly. It probably referred to Vedanta's financial troubles. It probably meant the STMicro deadlock, but Foxconn never said that directly. The joint venture was dead. $19.5 billion in announced investment, gone. The Dholera fab that was supposed to anchor India's semiconductor independence was not happening. What happened next is important. The Indian government did not formally reject Vedanta's request for the incentive funding. It simply put the company's solo fab proposal on the back burner. The government's Minister of State for Electronics confirmed that Vedanta had not submitted any new proposal. Translation: the government was saying no without saying no. It was letting Vedanta and Foxconn exit quietly, avoiding a public fight, avoiding the awkward question of whether it had approved a doomed project from the start. Pull back from the timeline, and the Vedanta-Foxconn collapse stops looking like a deal that went sideways. It starts looking like a deal that was never structurally sound to begin with. 3 failures stacked on top of each other, and any one of them should have stopped the project before it started. The first failure was experience. Building a chip fab is not like building any other factory. Counterpoint Research's analysts put the timeline plainly. It takes more than 2 decades for a company to develop the skill and scale needed to run a semiconductor fab successfully. 2 decades of process engineering, yield optimization, and institutional knowledge that does not transfer in a contract. Vedanta and Foxconn had none of it. Their plan was to license the missing decades from STMicro and figure out the rest as they went. That was never realistic, and everyone in the room with a semiconductor background knew it. The second failure was the structure of the deal itself. The entire venture rested on a single load-bearing assumption. STMicroelectronics would agree to stake its own capital alongside its technology. When STMicro said no, the structure collapsed. There was no backup partner, no alternative path to the incentive scheme. A $19.5 billion project hung on one external negotiation, and the people running it had no plan for what to do if it failed. That is not bad luck. That is an absent risk register. The third failure was political. India's government had every signal it needed, and it had them early. By April 2023, the center was raising concerns about the partners' lack of chip experience. The STMicro deadlock and Vedanta's financial stress were visible. SEBI's disclosure fine was about to land, but the government never said the word no out loud. Approving the deal had become a political asset, and pulling the plug would have meant admitting that it had approved a project without the basic credentials. So the government waited, hoping the partners would eventually find a way through. They did not. If New Delhi had been honest about these obstacles in early 2023, Vedanta and Foxconn could have walked away with minimal sunk cost, and the public would have understood. Instead, both companies spent the better part of 2 years working a deal that was never going to clear. And the country lost the time it could have spent pursuing partners who actually knew how to build a fab. There is one more piece of this story that needs to be mentioned, even though it is unverified. In 2024, a short seller called Viceroy Research published a report alleging that Vedanta's semiconductor subsidiary, Vedanta Semiconductors Private Limited, may not have been a genuine chip manufacturing venture at all. The allegation was that the subsidiary was being used as a vehicle for commodity trading designed to funnel debt back to the parent company while avoiding financial regulation. This allegation is serious. It would suggest that the whole semiconductor project was a financial shell game, not a manufacturing one. But it comes from a short seller with a financial interest in Vedanta's stock price falling. Vedanta has not responded directly. CRISIL, the credit rating agency, reaffirmed Vedanta's credit rating after an independent review. So this claim is unresolved. It is worth knowing about, but it is not proven. What is proven is that the deal collapsed, that Vedanta lacked the expertise and the capital to execute it, and that the Indian government let it happen anyway. After Foxconn walked away, the company said it was exploring a new semiconductor fab in India with different partners, including Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company, known as TSMC, and a Japanese chip-making partner called TMH. Whether those talks went anywhere is not yet public. Vedanta has not announced a solo fab since the government put its proposal on the back burner. And the Indian government's 76,000 crore incentive scheme, the money that was supposed to drive all of this, remains largely undeployed. India still does not have a domestic chip fab. The country remains dependent on imports. There is also a question worth asking about STMicro's silence. The European company has never publicly explained why it walked. Its reasons, whether equity risk, intellectual property concerns, or skepticism about the partners themselves, remain unreported. That silence matters, because future Indian fab projects will hit the same wall. Without understanding what STMicro was actually worried about, the next round of negotiations starts blind. The deeper question is whether the incentive scheme itself is structurally aimed at the wrong companies. The 76,000 crore policy requires applicants to already possess production-grade fab technology. Companies that meet that bar are by definition incumbents. The new entrants the scheme was meant to attract may be the very companies it cannot legally fund. A policy designed to bring chip manufacturing to India may be designed to exclude the only people who could realistically do it. The question now is whether the next attempt will learn from this failure. Will the government require more rigorous due diligence before signing off on billion-dollar announcements? Will companies pursue partnerships only when they have genuine expertise to bring? Will technology partners like STMicro be more willing to take stakes in ventures that matter to them? The $19.5 billion question is whether this was a one-off disaster or a warning that India's semiconductor ambitions are built on quicksand. The Vedanta-Foxconn fab collapse was not a story about bad luck or market timing. It was a story about 3 parties, 2 companies and 1 government, all telling themselves a story that was easier to believe than the truth. Vedanta and Foxconn wanted to build something massive, so they convinced themselves that licensing technology was enough. They wanted the prestige of semiconductors, so they ignored the reality that you cannot learn chip manufacturing in 3 years. They wanted the incentive money, so they did not push back when the government kept quiet about the red flags. The Indian government wanted an investment announcement it could celebrate, so it approved a project that lacked a credible foundation. It wanted to avoid conflict, so it let the venture drift instead of raising concerns when it mattered. And STMicroelectronics? They simply said no. They were not willing to risk capital on a bet that looked weak from the beginning. In the end, STMicro's caution was the honest voice in the room. When the technology partner will not back the deal, maybe the deal is not ready. The lesson is not that India cannot build semiconductors. The lesson is that $19.5 billion and good intentions are not enough. You need expertise. You need partners willing to stake real capital on the vision. And you need governments willing to say hard truths early, before the money is spent and the hope is gone. If you want to understand how industrial policy actually works, the deals that succeed and the deals that fail, subscribe. We cover the stories that shape how countries compete and what happens when ambition meets reality. And if you want to see what happened when another government tried to build semiconductors from scratch, check out the video on Taiwan's rise to dominance. It is a very different story. Thanks for watching.